In this video, we're going to create an assembly, do a concrete slab takeoff and view the results in a report in TradeTek software. Since a concrete slab takeoff requires an area takeoff, the first step is to create an area assembly. Choose or add an assembly group to add the new slab area takeoff assembly to, then click the area button located in the new assembly button group. Name the assembly concrete slab, then click the OK button at the bottom right corner of the dialog to create the new assembly. In this demonstration, we're going to set the slab assembly up to simply calculate the amount of concrete needed. The next step is to add a sub-item to the concrete slab assembly that will calculate the cubic yards of concrete needed for the slab. Double-click on the concrete slab assembly icon to launch its dialog. To add a sub-item to the assembly, click the Add Sub-Item button. The next step is to name the sub-item tab. For this demonstration, we'll name the tab Concrete. The next step is to connect the sub-item to a list. In the List tab, we have created a simple concrete list with a few different concrete items with pricing that we are going to connect the concrete sub-item to. Back in the Concrete Sub-Item tab, click the Connect to List button to connect the sub-item to a list. Select the list name that you want to connect to, and the column of data that you want to choose from. Now that we have connected the sub-item to a list, we're going to add a few properties to the sub-item that will set up how the item will display in our report. Whenever assembly sub-items are connected to lists, any other columns of data for that item in the list can be pulled into the sub-items, which then makes that property value available to include in formula calculations or to display in reports. Notice how that concrete list that we have connected the sub-item to contains a column of data called cost each. Although in this example we're not displaying cost information in the report, this will demonstrate how connected property values are updated in assembly sub-items connected to lists. Next, we're going to add a number property to the concrete sub-item called cost each that will be updated with the item's cost when we select it for the sub-item. In order for the connected property to work, the property name must match the associated column name in the connected list exactly. In the concrete materials report that we have created to display our material list, we have set up one level of grouping that will group by the property value of a property called location. Next, we'll add a text property to the concrete sub-item called location, and we'll give it a value of slab on grade. This will allow this sub-item to be grouped in the concrete report under a location group called slab on grade. The concrete report also contains a description column, so we'll add a text property called description and give it a value of slab concrete. Next, to ensure that the sub-item is successfully connected to the list, we'll choose an item, then click the refresh button at the bottom left corner of the dialog. Notice how the cost each and units property values have been updated for the selected item. The next step is to add a number property called slab thickness. This property value will be referenced in the sub-item calculation formula to determine the number of cubic yards of concrete that are required. The final step in setting up the assembly sub-item is to set up its quantity formula. In this case, we're going to start by adding the assembly area takeoff quantity, which will be multiplied by the slab thickness. Finally, the result will be divided by 27 to convert the value into cubic yards. Now that the assembly is ready, navigate to the page where the takeoff will be performed, scale the page and then verify the scale using the measure tool against one of the dimensions on the page. Once the scale has been verified, select the assembly group from the template's side panel. Click on the concrete slab assembly to select it, then click the green button to launch an instance of the assembly to perform the takeoff. In the Report tab, click the Build tab in the Concrete Materials report. Click the Group button and set the Filter checkbox for the Location property group. Now click the View tab to display the report with the concrete item from our takeoff. The report can now be exported to Excel, PDF, or a CSV file. This was a very simple overview of how TradeTek works. For more detailed information, visit the Help tab containing the user guides and help videos.